Ever since Amazon's original series Into the Badlands finished, I've had a hole in my heart. Thankfully now I've found something to fulfill it, which is probably sad because it'll probably get cancelled. Hi and welcome to the Ruby Tuesday. My name is Ruben and this is my review for The Warrior Season 2. Based on the writings of martial art legend Bruce Lee, Warrior is a gritty action-packed crime drama set during the brutal Tong Wars of San Francisco's Chinatown in the late 19th century. Season 2 follows rival Chinatown Tongs, the Hop Wei and Long Zii as they fight for dominance amidst the growing anti-Chinese racism that threatens to destroy them all. There are 10 episodes of this glorious season that has fulfilled my longings of seeing Peaky Blinders, but American Peaky Blinders, combined with Into the Badlands, but no wire work, so grounded martial arts. So here we have these factions from China trying to just live life. There's a line in the second series that I think really kind of says what's happening in this whole series, really. None of us can be ourselves. We are too busy trying to survive. So Cinemax did the original first season of this, but unfortunately Cinemax has now kind of been absorbed by HBO, so we're probably not going to get a third season. However, there's a season 2. It was finished filming in 2019. Thankfully, we are finally getting these episodes. I should say thank you very much to Cinemax and HBO for the screeners. Thank you. I'm a big fan of this type of genre. You have Kung Fu meeting Irish boxing, and when you get the action sequences that you are obviously going to get in it's a showcase basically for martial arts and action all together, and it looks phenomenal. But what really grounds this series is the characters that you get within this. And I also feel like there's no real good guys or bad guys, although towards the end you totally know who the good guy is. As well as with the first season, you obviously pick up with all those main characters. We have our main protagonist who feels like a Bruce Lee-like character. So Asham, who is the main character again. We have Toy, Young Jun, Mei Ling, Walter Buckley, Richard Lee, Bill O'Hara, Penelope Blake. All of the characters that we knew and loved from the first season, and we've seen the political agendas that they all have. They're all just trying to survive, but they're also trying to take land, and everybody's backstabbing everybody. And so we see the heightened tension towards the end where our main character is almost killed. And so he would have died if there wasn't a gunshot and if there wasn't someone that called the fight. And so now we see the repercussions of all of that thrust into a season 2 where the racism is so heightened. It just, you know that things are going to blow up, as well as we have those two factions now with brother and sister fighting against each other. Some of those factions don't know about each other, don't know about that, and so we have this whole kind of world in a mix of diverse cultures. They kind of smack heads and nobody wants to give grounds. You're taking our jobs, and everybody is just basically backstabbing everybody, and I say literally backstabbing everybody. The costume design in this is phenomenal. I don't normally talk about costumes, but it's one of the things that really kind of sets the tone in the mood. When you see all the costumes, they feel authentic. When you see the set designs, they are fantastic. When you see the action, it's definitely kind of the showcase of this series. Here, particularly in season 2, I loved the set pieces. We get to see, I'm not going to say what it is, but there's a couple of new set pieces that I wasn't expecting to see where the story goes. And I have to say, felt really fresh. So for the majority, we still stay in San Francisco. We still have those clashes between the two warring factions and the Irish kind of workers, I guess. And so we see all that. That's what you've come to expect to see from season 1 that flows over nicely into season 2. But there's a couple of new additions to our clans and people that are coming in playing kind of new protagonists, which I really like. I think you'll come to love these new characters and also where those stories go.
So the new guy's crazy.
I was surprised by how invested I was to so many of the characters, because this is one thing that this series does really well, is they really go into the backstories of the people that it's following. So although we do get a couple of action sequences as you'd expect within each episode, most of the other storylines is all kind of bringing to a forefront of what these people are going through and who they are. And so you get to see each of these new protagonists. You also get to see more of the backstory of people that we already know. I wouldn't say know and love. I would say there's a lot of characters in here you just kind of tolerate because the choices they make are often really horrible ones just to survive. So you can understand what they're doing. And so it really kind of throws up conundrum of there is no black and white. There is no just good. There is no just bad. People got to do what they do to survive in this time zone, in this land, at least. And so that's the story that they've created. So you really get to see that turmoil. One of the things I really love, obviously, is the action. And I have to say that it reminds me a lot of Into the Badlands, but because there's no wire work, it does feel a lot more grounded. Seeing the mix of boxing, kind of boxing, Irish, a little bit of wrestling in there, mixed with the kung fu, the knife fighting, sword fighting, is fantastic. But I have to say, I have to kind of clap with... That's a pathetic clap. I have to clap to say thank you to the filmmakers for allowing us to see everything that they put on screen. Because a lot of the fight scenes are wide angled. They're big production, choreographed fight scenes that feel real, feel tangible. The gore is in true effect. Arms being sliced off, throats being ripped out, as you would imagine, it feels real. But you get to see it. In so many of these series, even Into the Badlands, a lot of the time those quick cutting, to make it look better, a lot of slow-mo. There is some slow-mo in this, but when they do cut, it's for a purpose. You feel that punch land, the camera will slightly zoom in. There are moments where a camera technique is used to heighten that little bit of action, but for the most part, you get to see the fight scenes. It's filmed in such a way that you're a part of it, and you feel quite close to the action, but there's also this kind of wideness effect. Well, a few shots that are really wide, so you get to see the flow of some of these fight scenes. And let me say, not all of the fight scenes are just one-on-one. There are large-scale fights, especially as we heighten up to the end of season 2, where we get a massive fight. Episode 9, I believe. Massive fight sequence, which is fantastic. Really enjoyed it. Loved how they showed it. And I have to say, by the time you get to all these fight sequences, you are really emotionally engaged with the characters. I found myself holding my breath a lot of the time because I didn't want that character to go through what they were going. And there's no everybody's going to survive in this series. You don't know who's going to get brutally murdered or hurt so bad that they possibly will die later on. The fights feel real, even though you know that your heroes or the person that you've chosen, that's the guy I'm rooting for, that's the lady I'm rooting for. Who they fight, it's a real fight. So not everybody is just magically brilliant at everything and nobody can land a punch. No, these fights feel so tangible that often the fights will swing in different ways that you weren't expecting, and that keeps it really fresh. The story often does things that you're not expecting it to.
Ideas? Just the usual.
Which I think is also great in this day and age. If you can keep your audience guessing of which way you're going to go, I think you've done a really great job. There are character moments that I was literally going like that because I was so involved with the characters of what was happening, and people I didn't really particularly like for all their choices, but I also didn't want them to die. The characters are so well defined that way that you can't help but feel their pain when they're in it, and that is great, especially for a series that is kind of a showcase for action, but it's more a showcase for that time. And so I feel like there's this balancing act that the series does really well, showing all the cultures, showing what they went through, showing the racism and being real about it, showing the martial arts, which is obviously choreographed. All of this is play acting, but it makes you believe that you're there with them. It's one of those that you can totally binge and just allow yourself to be immersed in this world. If you love Peaky Blinders and you love Into the Badlands, I think you're going to love what this is. I feel like that we need to share this review around, we need to share the trailers around, because I don't know that we're going to get a third season without the fans who love the series because it's definitely one of those that gets cancelled. It's always this type of show that takes a lot to make. There's a lot of moving parts in this day and age with the COVID. I imagine it costs quite a bit more to make everybody secure and safe, and so all of that coming into place, I imagine that there's going to be quite tricky to get a third season for this greenlit, especially now that Cinemax kind of doesn't exist. It's been, like I said, absorbed by the HBO or Warner Media Entertainment, and so it's all under that kind of umbrella, and so it will be shared around many places. In the UK it will take quite a while to get here, I believe. I think, like with the first season, it will probably come to Sky now. That's normally where the HBO content comes to. If you have HBO Max, I presume it'll be on there or one of their other brands, but not a lot of people are going to pay for extra content from Cinemax. But I definitely think if you like martial arts and you like kind of gritty, real action, it's a proper 18. They don't skimp on the blood or the sex or the swearing or any of that. It just feels like you've been immersed into this time zone. Then you're going to love this, and it's definitely worth your time. I loved this season. I'm going to give it an A+. It's one of my favorites, unfortunately, because whenever I label something one of my favorites, it feels like it gets cancelled, because we are in a world now where Netflix cancels everything, Amazon are starting to do that, Disney, all the big brands. If something doesn't immediately heighten, go massive with the crowds, then they tend to cancel, especially if it costs a bit to make and it takes a lot. These action sequences would take so long to prep and get right and to look authentic, and I feel like they've done such a great job with this series, so definitely do check it out. I'm going to do a spoiler review, so check that out if you want to talk about some of the episodes. Then chat to me there. But most of all, until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.